I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're not a Dragon Ball fan, don't buy this game. It's not for you. It's not a good game, unless you're a Dragon Ball fan.
You fool! What? Here's your review.
I know it's kind of weird to say Kakarot is only a game for Dragon Ball fans because that seems like it's self-evident, but I have to say this game, if it didn't have the Dragon Ball skin all over it, I would never consider this a good game. And yet it's a game I keep coming back to because it pulls me in with so much like fan service as a Dragon Ball fan. So we're gonna dive into this entire game. Kakarot, basically covers the entire Dragon Ball Z series, starting from the Saiyan saga all the way to Buu. And we're only gonna talk about the base game, none of the DLC, because I know the DLC goes a little bit into Super, but pretty much when you finish Buu, that's when the story of this game ends. And they have done a fantastic job of retelling the story of Dragon Ball Z in this game. But at this point, if you're anywhere close to my age, you have seen this story, you have played this story more times than you would probably like. I mean, I've watched it on TV, I've watched it on cable, I've watched it on DVD, on Blu-ray, I've watched it streaming, I've watched it in English, in Japanese, I've watched it through 20 variations of different video games. But this is the best video game version of that story, no matter how tired it is to go through the whole thing over again. And the whole thing is packaged in this beautiful open world. I say open world with quotes because I'm going to get into that. Open world with beautiful I don't know if you would call it cell shaded. I'm not even sure if at this point that's what this is defined, but the graphics, absolutely beautiful. This was done with a lot of love for the Dragon Ball fans. So the open world, let's talk about that. You can access just about any section of the Dragon Ball universe, including all the famous areas around Earth. You can even go to King Kai's planet. You can go to Namek. You can go to the land of the Kais, I believe. And the world has a bunch of stuff that you can do, but it's segmented. So like, for example, if you are at Goku's house in the mountains, you can't just fly over to Master Roshi's house. You have to go to the world map, you have to pick his house, and then you have to wait for a load screen. And my God, that load screen is this game's biggest problem. I have seen this load screen so many times because when you're doing quests, you often have to go to different regions, which means you're gonna see that load screen over and over and over again. And it takes a good 10-15 seconds to load a new area. So it's really boring. Have your phone by you because you're gonna be staring at it a lot. Now, what you can do in the open world when you're not busy doing the whole story is you can find side quests, you can find all sorts of collectibles like apples, all sorts of ingredients to cook with. You can also find a bunch of minerals to build robot parts with. You can fish. What else can you do? You can sometimes you can find Dragon Balls depending on where you are in the story. So there's 3 major chapters, right? There's the Saiyan, let's say 4 major chapters. There's the Saiyan conflict, the Frieza conflict, the Android saga, and then the Buu saga. And between those, there are intermissions, which is when the game really says, like, just enjoy the world, just have fun, explore, do whatever you want. And during that time, my main motivator was really just to do side quests because A, I want to like check everything off the list in this game, and B, what was B? I don't even remember. Maybe that's the only thing. I just want to do side quests and just see what's out there. I think that was it. Was that it? That is it. There's nothing else to do from my point. So the side quests are really the only thing I would want to do in the intermission to fly around. That's the only thing. And then from the side quests, you kind of learn all these things. The side quests range from pretty much go fetch me vegetables and go fetch me this and that to sometimes almost giving you extra lore that you've always wondered. Like there's a point where Gohan, I think it's after the Namek saga, he starts wondering, hey, when is my tail going to grow back? Which is a very good question. I've never honestly wondered until that moment. I was like, why didn't Gohan's tail grow back? And then the quest giver says, well, maybe you should go ask Vegeta about it. His tail hasn't grown back. I'm like, oh my God, that's right. Why hasn't Vegeta's tail grown back? And so you go through kind of the whole quest hoping to get an answer. And at the end of it, you don't really get the answer that you were hoping for. So And then there's another quest later on where they acknowledge that Captain Ginyu is still on Earth as a frog, and you can go and do stuff. So you can go and like revive him in his body and fight him. So it touches up on all of this kind of like side lore that I really wasn't expecting, and that really enriches kind of the experience as a Dragon Ball fan, where you're like, ha! Also, if you are an original Dragon Ball fan, there's so many references to the original series. All of the characters from the original series can be found around the world. You can talk to them. There's some of them give quests. And there's also these little collectible orbs that you can find, which are like little mementos. And they'll show you like a screen cap from the old Dragon Ball series with like a little flavor text about it. So I thought that was really, really cool. And on top of all this, collecting all this, as you guys know, I do love to collect things. You get this massive book, encyclopedia of Dragon Ball Z in the menu, and you have to unlock, basically to unlock all that, you're gonna have to do all the side quests, collect everything, talk to everybody, and do everything. And it's kind of exciting to just fill up that book, and the more you fill up the book, the more rewards you get. And I'm playing this on the PlayStation 4, which means I'm getting trophies at the same time. It's just feeding into that checking things off that I just love so much about video games. I don't know why, I love checking things off. Now, in terms of the battle, at first I thought the battle was everything I wanted in a Dragon Ball game. I'm like, this has so much depth. You can fly, you can go on the ground. If you go by the ground, like, and you fly really fast, you kind of destroy the earth around you. You can charge up, and then you basically have your melee attacks. You have your basic ki blast, and you have your charge up, and then you can open up like a menu to do like your Kamehamehas through like one click of a button. So the majority of your battles are pretty much finding when it's the time to go on the offensive, comboing people up. And then when they like unleash their supers and they start comboing on you, you have to go on the defensive and dodge them. And all of the sound effects and everything, the music, it's all on point. It's taken directly from the show. Even like the like quick step is all there from the show, the sound. So it's really great. And in the first, I'd say hour or two of playing this, I felt it was really challenging. But somewhere around the Frieza, when I was fighting Frieza, it kind of clicked where I realized, oh, I just have to keep doing this combo over and over again, and I win. And I was like, no, surely they're gonna like change up the mechanics, but nope. Basically, from Frieza onward, all I did with any character was punch, 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 blast, and then follow up with a massive Kamehameha or whatever type of attack they have, charge up, dodge, repeat, and then you just keep doing that until you win. So the combat really got a little stale after a while, and it's not so bad in the story because I'm like kind of living the story through the character, but it's more annoying when you're going through random battles. And the way random battles work is you can see the enemies in the open world, and as you're flying around, they'll spot you and then they'll come to you. And you can kind of outrun them if you want, but like if you're searching for things, like you're looking for vegetables and stuff, they're gonna come at you and you're gonna have to fight them. And it's just annoying. A lot of times they have like 5 people in there that you have to fight. And it's just, ugh, do I have to deal with this? This is kind of annoying. Back to the, so yeah, the battles, you're gonna do all the key battles. It's going to get a little monotonous at the end. Honestly, if you don't like collecting and you're not that big into Dragon Ball Z, you're probably not going to like this that much. Another point on the side quests I had to touch up on is the collecting stuff is not always fun. And I have to say, I always had to pull up a walkthrough because someone would be like, I need a super rare antler, deer antler or something, and a rare white pumpkin or something. And okay, then they don't tell you where to go, what to do, so you're left in this big open world, and I'm not going to start searching around for that. So I pull up my walkthrough, I'm like, where do I find this? And the way the game expects you to find it is that you have to fly around who knows where, and there's text bubbles that show up, and people will be like, wow, there sure are a lot of deer antlers around here. And that's when you know you have to go down, because the thing that you're trying to harvest is in that area. So that is what the game expects you to do. I value my time, so I'm not going to do that, because finding each item like that requires going through a lot of load screens, a lot of guesswork, when I could just pull up an internet guide and find it that way. Outside of that, there is a card game that they added in later. I don't want to touch on that because it's completely optional, and it's not that great, and I honestly didn't really enjoy playing it. But just know that there's an optional card game in there if you want to play. There's this the cooking aspect is also not that great. I've never really needed to cook. The cook gives you, like, if you cook things, you can get buffs, like you can do more attack, more ki. But again, once I have my combo down, I didn't need buffs or anything. I was just always very comfortably powered up, and I had no troubles with fights after that. There's also side quests like driving, so they brought that back from like that filler episode that was in the show. It's also not that great. You drive and there's oncoming traffic, and if you hit that, you'll just hover over them. So there's really no way that you can lose the driving racing games unless you try to lose, and it's pretty hard even then. But there is this really fun community board aspect that they added. Basically, every character in Dragon Ball Z gets a little medallion, and there's different ways to unlock them. So let's say Goku's medallion unlocks right from the get-go. And these medallions have different attributes depending on what community board you put them in. So I think there's like 7 or 10 somewhere in there, different community boards. So there's a community board for like Z Warriors. There's a community board for tech development, for cooking, for adventuring. And each of these boards, the more you level them up, the more benefits your character gets, whether that's more HP, cheaper prices at the store, stuff like that. And you upgrade your medallions by giving special items to those medallions, which are like gifts. And that's how you power up your boards. And sometimes if you mix your medallions, like let's say you put, I don't know, Gohan and Piccolo together, they have a relationship. So they might get a combo bonus if you put them side by side. So that little thing, I really enjoyed it. And as you're probably noticing, I'm saying a lot of things about elements about this game which sound interesting, but I followed up with it's not that good. There's so many good ideas in this game that are just poorly implemented and executed. And I feel if you just had a little bit more polish, this could be a really good game, even if you're not a Dragon Ball fan. But I feel they were relying way too much on the Dragon Ball Z fandom. Another thing is this is an RPG, but at no point are you going to be grinding for levels. The game gives you experience whenever the story progresses to make sure that, like, to kind of, so let's say in the first season, right, Goku goes training with King Kai. You don't do any of the training, but when he comes back, like as the story progresses, they're like, oh, Goku leveled up 10 levels because he was on King Kai's planet. It's like, oh, that feels so cheap. And that's just one example. All of your characters level up that way. Very rarely will you, actually, you never need to grind. I never grinded. I'm at like level 80, and it was all thanks to the story moving me along. Another thing is the Dragon Balls in the intermission chapters, you can actually collect them and make a wish. That's kind of fun. It's not great. Like the wish is that you can wish for money. You can wish to fight someone you've already fought. And I think there's another one. The wishes are kind of lame. But honestly, if it wasn't for just the collecting stuff, and because I'm a Dragon Ball Z fan, I don't think I would have enjoyed playing this. And my experience of the game kind of went on a high where like, oh my God, it's an open world Dragon Ball Z fan, to, oh, this is so repetitive and boring, to, oh, they're doing this, to, and I have to say the Majin Buu era, or the Majin Buu saga, was the saga I thought I would have hated the most. I've only watched it once when I was a teenager, and it was my least favorite saga out of the 3 main ones. So I never revisited that story until this game. So actually experiencing the Majin Buu arc was like the first time in 15 years that I had seen it, and I had forgotten a lot of small details. So it was a lot more enjoyable for me to play that arc where I was like, oh, I remember that. Whereas the other arcs, I was like, I've seen this so many times. I know it off the cusp. So Kakarot is I waited to get this game at 50% off, and I'm super glad I waited because it is not worth full price in my opinion. I'm really interested in the DLC. I do want to pick that up at a discount as well to do all the Super Saiyan Blue stuff and fighting extra characters. I'm enjoying, it's kind of a guilty pleasure of just like flying around, picking up stuff, collecting things, filling out my book, and just kind of reading lore on the Dragon Ball Z universe. But as a game, it's a very mediocre game. I hope that helps you decide if you want to pick this up. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next Heiji review. Until then, keep it classy.